the recording. And if I can find it, I will remember to start the transcription. So, and if I don't, somebody else will. Let's see. I don't see it. Let's see. Maybe it's under apps. Nope. All right. Somebody will have to start the transcription. Otherwise, we'll just have to go send it off to be transcribed. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Q1 meeting for the National Society of IT Service Providers. And as usual, we have a full agenda. And so let's go ahead and just get started. We are scheduled for an hour, but we will stay as long as it takes and answer as many questions as we need to. And if we want to go back to discussing snowmobiles, we are certainly able to do that. So, all right. So, quick agenda. We're going to do. We have some reports from the board and from my office, and then committee reports. We have a special discussion about the executive director search and a special call for new members, and also answering any questions about the new member program. Few notes, please, by the way, if you're going to make noise, mute your microphone, just for all of us. But also note that this is being recorded. So if there's anything that you do not want to say in public and be held accountable for, mute your microphone. If you don't want to be on the video, please turn off your video camera. Also remember that we have a chat going, and we post up the video and the transcripts and the chat and all the links, and we create actually a pretty good resource out of this, and that is over at NSITSP.org. Just go to the meetings drop down, and there you're going to find the recorded meetings as well as a schedule of the upcoming meetings. We post the meeting also on YouTube, so it's on our YouTube channel, which is just NSITSP. And so anyway, participate to whatever extent you wish, but also know that this is being recorded. So, you need to monitor yourself, because we're not going to monitor you. With that, we'll go ahead and actually start with the content, and the content starts with our president, Amy Babanchak.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Well, update from the board. This past quarter, we have been focused on filling committees, which we talked about last time, and begged for your participation. And we did get lots of participation. So that was pretty good. We also worked on setting the parameters for the executive director search, which we're going to talk about more later. I still feel like we could use more bodies on the marketing committee. Now, you don't have to be artistic, and you don't have to be a marketing professional. You just need to know a good idea when you hear one and be able to help us come up with great ideas. So please consider helping us out in that area. We also created a new communication management team. It is yet to be populated, but its purpose is going to be to create official responses to cybersecurity events from the industry, right? From our perspective on the industry. It is also going to create a ready-to-use set of materials for media who need to understand our industry, what we do, what we stand for, and that kind of thing. The board is also becoming consumed with obtaining enough funding to launch this organization into a stable and self-sustaining financial future. And to that end, we are going to need additional vendor members, and we need your help to make those contacts. So please contact Carl and I with your introductions. And I'm not going to say too much today, because I don't want to steal a thunder from our hardworking committees, except to say that you're going to hear about the process that has been laid out for the executive search, your opportunities to join that effort. You're going to hear about a new marketing campaign, new membership levels, and activities of the legislative committee, which are really heating up. And while I do still have the floor, I want to remind all of you that we need to have a presence at every industry event. So if you are going to an event, contact the host and request a nonprofit table. Then we will send you a table cover and some business cards. And you get to tell everybody at that event what is great and why they should join this organization. And don't be afraid to do it. It's a really great experience. You get to meet everyone that's at the event and make some great business contacts. So Carl and I will help you out with that and maybe even get you connected with other of our members that are going to be at that same event so you can do it together. I'm going to be at Chicago, along with Jason is going to be at Chicago as well. And we're going to have a table over there. So if you're at MSP Rescue, I think that's the next time that we're going to be represented. Oh, we're also going to be at SMB Tech Fest. They have a table over there too. So we need to get out next, make sure that the entire world of this industry knows that we exist. Andrew just popped into the chat that he's going to be at ASCII Edge in Southern California. So Andrew, we can get you some stuff. So thank you for all your help. And Carl, let's move forward with the reports.
Very good. Thank you. Unfortunately, Andrew, ASCII doesn't have a place for us to have a table at their event. So that's just the way they are. So I will see you there. So make sure you buy me a beer, but we won't have a table there. So a few notes on the, the stats of what we've been doing. So right now, we, as of like this morning, we're at 297 paid members and 568 registered members. So the paid members is up about 49 since our last quarterly meeting. And we have been meeting our goals. So our goal for this year is to renew everybody and get about 15 new members per month. And obviously, if we can do more than that, we absolutely want to. But we are reaching those goals. The number of vendors has remained the same. So we absolutely need more vendors. And part of what we need to look at is our finances, right? And all of our board meetings are open and all of our committee meetings are open, and you can attend them online. I would note that at the top of the website, there has magically appeared a link called Resources, and it will give you access to all of the legislative handouts that Dennis talked about at our last meeting, but also all of the new things that are coming out in terms of logos, marketing materials, and so forth. That's where we're going to post resources. And eventually that site will be divided up into multiple pages and so forth. But go check out the resources link at the top. Also, the meetings link has been expanded so that it now includes a list of all of the committee meetings that you can attend, and it has a direct link. You don't need to register for committee meetings or board meetings. You can just go there, and you do have to be logged in as a paid member, but you can just go ahead and attend any of our meetings. In terms of finances, we are doing okay. We're doing what we had hoped to do, minus getting a new vendor here and there. And so right now our cash is okay, but it will slowly deplete over time if we don't get additional vendors. So we really need lots of members to sort of pump us up, but we also need those vendor partners down the road. Few announcements. The next meeting for all of us is May 10th, and that is just, as always, the second Wednesday of the quarter. And so second Wednesday of the second month of the quarter. So mark your calendars and join us there. I'm going to have Nye post our social media links into the chat, so you can join us on all of our social media. And we're going to talk about that. The marketing committee has put together some really great stuff and is pumping that to my team, who is pumping it to social media. So Nye's in charge of our Hootsuite account and is doing an excellent job there. So when you see those posts, like them and share them, whether it is Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever. Make sure that you help get the word out. Huge thank you to our vendor partners, and all of the people who are vendor partners have been participating, and I really, really appreciate that. And so, please reach out to your vendors and ask them to participate at a higher level. We would love to have them engage, and they can just contact me, and I'm just Carl with a K, Carl P at smallbiz, or I'm at NSITSP.org. And I'll be happy to chat with any of the vendors.
Carl, I'm sorry, do we have any sponsor packages defined that we could share with a vendor?
Well, so we have on our website, there's a vendor link. It says get involved, and then one of the options is vendors. So all the vendor partner program materials are there, and I think pretty clearly defined. If you have questions about what's there, I would be happy to talk to you, and we can change that site, update it, whatever we need to do to make it more clear. One of the things that we've done with vendors is we don't want a tiered system where one vendor gives us so much money that they basically claim the right to put their logo on every single thing we do, and we appear to be owned by them. And there are vendors that's the only way they would give money. So that's just the reality of it. So we want the vendors who would say, we need you, we need strong partners, we need a strong industry in order to be successful. And so there is really only one vendor program. You're either in or you're out, but there's different levels of giving based on what different vendors can afford.
Can I ask a question, Carl? This is Keith.
Absolutely.
Do we have anything that I could download off the website to bring to SMB Tech Fest tomorrow and Friday?
I will get you some materials. So we should probably talk about this offline, but basically I thought we had mailed a tablecloth and
the tablecloth and the card.
And you have stickers and cards. Okay, so you just need handouts.
Yeah, I was just looking at. I'll take it and get it printed. I mean, pay for it. That's no big deal.
All right. But
people want to see something besides my good-looking face at a booth.
I don't know why anybody would want anything else. Anyway, I will work on that.
Thank you.
With that, unfortunately, our vice president can't be here today as she's making a presentation. She's making a speech right now. So I'm going to introduce the committees. So Mr. Dennis will kick off with you. Please don't take the entire hour because you've been doing so much work.
Yes, I noticed that I'm not actually Dennis Miller. I'm Dennis Wilson.
Well, there you go.
But
that's been up there for like 3 events. I have no idea where that came from. But anyway,
the comedian is Dennis Miller. And he's one of the few, if I remember right, that actually spells Dennis correctly with one N.
All right.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about the legislative committee. We have a great group of committee members and attendees that have been working with us at that committee. Jason Harrison's our vice president. Keith Nelson is the secretary. We've got Andrew Crawford, James Paventi, Ted Geisler, I hope I didn't screw that up, and Trevor Deerdorf. Besides that, we've got Amy and Carl and Jeff Grenier, who have been showing up for most of the meetings. And we really want to put a big thank you to our vendor attendees, Ben Yarborough and Joy Beeland at Calyptix and Summit 7, respectively. Anyway, we want to talk about our projects that we're looking at for this quarter. We currently have a couple of pieces done, which is the how-to pamphlet on working with legislators. That's done and up now, as well as the first video, which goes with the pamphlet. Talking about the how-tos of dealing with legislators. There's another, where I'm not sure how many we ended up with, 7 to 10, probably in that area, of these 5 to 10 minute videos that are more focused on the individual questions that the how-to pamphlet talks about. So the second one we're working on currently, so this quarter we should have probably in the range of 4 or 5 of them done. Next, we're dealing with the wallet-sized battle cards and a resources brochure that currently is in process. We are working with the marketing committee on potential joint projects and templates for videos and brochures and PowerPoints and that kind of stuff. So everything looks consistent across all of that is being printed or put onto social media. Last of those things that are in process right now is the potential example of a legislation that we might put out for a recommendation to the legislators, so they could see what kind of thing we're interested in, how we would answer the question of what is it that we need to do. Okay, we have a couple of others that might pop in, but probably not. That'll be for the next quarter. And so that's it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So I do want to just take a second and shout out to Ben Yarborough, who has been spectacular and just donated, I wouldn't say maybe not hundreds of hours, but many dozens of hours and maybe 100, and really helped the legislative committee with the legislation and to sort of put together, some thoughts that are as least restrictive as possible. And, one of the things that's kind of weird to think about is that if you go to any state in the United States of America, there is no chapter in the law entitled IT service providers or computer consultants. So it's very, very interesting, given that, the people who cut your hair and your lawn have to be licensed with the state. All right, Finance Committee. Tracy sent me a note that she's also giving a speech or making a sales presentation today. So she's not here.
I am here. I'm here.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well,
I made it. You didn't catch that last email. My other
I did not
canceled right before this one, so
right.
I was able to make it.
So Amy's got her. I mean, Amy does too, but Tracy's got her priorities stitched straight, and we're more important than her clients. So. What's going on with finance?
Well, it's a little bit slow time for us at this time of year. However, we've been working with the board on enhancements to the membership contribution program. Basically, some members want to give above and beyond what our standard membership offers. So we want to provide ways of doing that. And plus what you had said, Carl, we really want to get our money more for members than for vendors. So this will help drive that. We hope that more of our members will step forward, and we want to recognize members that do that and give above and beyond. So let's try to get this financed through our members instead of these vendors. Also, we do need another member. We have 6 right now, could use the 7th. You can be either an IT service person or a vendor at this point. It doesn't matter. We've got a good balance on the team. You don't have to know anything about accounting or even math. You just have to care about how NSITSP spends its money. We meet once a month for about an hour. If you're interested, please put your contact info in the chat, if that's okay with you, Carl. If you put it there, I'll grab it. Or you can reach out through the NSITSP website. Once you've logged in, you click on a link called Get Involved and Volunteer. And there you can volunteer really for any committee. You must be a paid member to volunteer on one of the committees, by the way. We meet on the 3rd Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. Eastern or 8 a.m. Pacific. And that's what I have.
Very good. Sorry for coughing. I have allergies as usual. And I just want to reiterate that the Finance Committee is mostly about policy. It's about where should we spend our finite resources? And so the Finance Committee is, they go through a cycle, just like any other finance organization. So they're going to be talking to the other committees. What do you have in mind? What kinds of things do you want? Unfortunately, every committee wants to spend roughly $1 million. So, it can't all get into the budget, but the finance committee is the organization that helps us put together the budget. So you just have to know about what you want this organization to be doing and not doing. You don't have to do any math. So, all right. So governance. Lisa Marie Pepp is the vice chair of governance. What is going on there?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Jason Thomas is our chairperson, and he is currently out, but I am going to try and uphold to his standards. A couple of things is as you all heard about a welcoming kit as a new member, you have these nice little stickers, you have little ribbons to put on your badges, as well as cards that you can hand out to prospective new members. And Carl, I will say we have a couple of events occurring here in Atlanta, Georgia. And you did mention ASCII, which is in March for me. However, tomorrow, Friday, I am going to the Atlanta Cybersecurity Summit. So I don't know if you want to overnight anything, that would be appreciated. Otherwise, I'll use what I have. So those are great items that we're, just handing out. So it just kind of gives a little bit of advertising and marketing, and that also brings questions when you're meeting with your clients. They ask, what's this about? So you can bring it to say what our credibility is. With that being said, it's understand that we also have a code of ethics committee that's being formed, and we're going to be working alongside with them and making sure that we make it comfortable for everybody to be a great MSP or IT service provider. And there was an email that came out in January of 2023, and it's in regards to membership renewal on your member anniversary date. So please read that email over, because it does have some very interesting information. And lastly, Jason said to me, he was looking at, we're going to put on the table of a discussion in regards to IT subcontractor space for a membership. As we know, currently, we know the big boys are starting to unfortunately lay off some IT professionals, but we know there is a great abundance of IT professionals that would rather work as a subcontractor and help us out. And they can help cover when we want to go on vacation. Oh, what's that? Or we might have, some onboarding of mass clients all at one time because you decide to start a second business, and they can be there to help you out. And there you go, Carl.
Thank you. And please bring up the subcontractor question a few slides down the road when we talk about membership.
Okay.
Because we actually have a plan for that. All right. So next up is Andy Higgins with the marketing committee, which is the official distributor of steak knives for marketing campaigns. And we have been doing quite a bit with the marketing committee, and actually got some good messaging out. So Andy, what is up with you guys?
Hello, everybody. Excuse me if I descend into a bout of coughing, because I've got the same allergies as Carl has.
Because we're right marketing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, well, thanks to our current members who are working. We've got about 3 or 4 people working on our committee currently. Carl has been helping. He doesn't count as one of those 3 or 4, but he does count, of course, because he's Carl. He's been doing a lot of heavy lifting with us. We are still looking for new members. I was amazed to hear one of the committees has 7 people. That's what we need to aspire to. We need lots of people. Excuse me. We meet every 2 weeks on Tuesday, late afternoon, 6 p.m. Central, which is for the Californians, only 4 p.m., but it's a little late for Eastern. But we still have one guy who tends sheep out on the East Coast somewhere who joins our meetings. So please reach out if you want to, if you're interested in marketing. No prior knowledge to marketing is required. We just we want ideas, like what Carl was saying and some of the other committee members. So currently, it's my understanding that we're also responsible for membership, since the membership committee has been phased out. You may have noticed there was a membership committee back in the day. Something I wanted to just seize on before I want to talk about a couple of things was a point last night in the State of Union. Some of you might have watched it when Mr. Biden talked about cybercrime. I think that's a perfect opportunity. He talked about cybercrime, doing something about it, and what else, other stuff he talked about. But I think that's a great way to get into the conversation, even with your local legislative people. We have, as our friend, the comedian Dennis Miller was mentioning, we have been talking with the legislative committee to work with them on the following about legislation. That legislation is going to be coming out on the state level, of course, and we need our members, anybody who knows people who are at the state level, in the legislature. It doesn't matter what the connection is, we need to reach out. We need to get those connections so we can be there and say, yeah, I know somebody who can provide you marketing material, provide you material. And that's why we come in, providing this material, working with the legislative committee so that you guys can, step up and get yourself noticed. I mean, how's that for marketing yourself? If you get noticed by your local legislation, that's perfect. It's a win-win situation for MSPs. So we're going to be producing the material that you can use to reach out to your local representatives. And anybody who's a member of NSITSP, you got to be a member, of course, but if you have interest in reaching out, you don't have to be members of the committee, right? You don't have to commit to the time on the committee. You just have to reach out to us and we can help you do that. All right. And we want a two-way conversation with you so we can make sure we're getting a consistent message out to everybody on this in this area. So that's a big area where we're driving right now. Additionally, what Carl mentioned about the social media with Nye and himself, we're using a product called Hootsuite, where we're pushing out social media management, or we're managing the social media with that. So that's a piece of the whole puzzle too. And that's about it. A brain dump from me. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. So if you have any interest at all in helping promote the NSITSP, please, Andy, why don't you go ahead and throw your email in the chat, or folks can email me or Nye. Nye. The best way to get a hold of Nye is admin@nsitsp.org. And we need new members. So there you go. Big announcement for a task force. One of the things that we want to do is get some people together and begin the task force to find someone or some company to help us with the administrative side of running this organization. So I cannot run my company and another full organization at the same time. So we have a task force forming. The board has approved the task force and has asked people to volunteer for it. And the way this process is going to work is that there will be a form to fill out, but first we're asking people to send a very brief letter to admin@nsitsp.org and just say, this is why I think I should be on the task force, and this is my relevant experience. We will then, the board, on their regular meeting on the 4th Monday, will go through those letters of application and invite people to fill out the online application form. And so the deadline for getting your letters into admin@nsitsp.org is February 24th. And then the board will ask people to fill out the form. And the reason that we're doing it this way, just to be very honest, is that filling out the form has turned out to be a very low commitment event. And part of what we saw in the elections is people who, there's a big long form, people put in their name and their email and hit enter. And so we had, candidates with no positions, no nothing, no information, no background, no links to their social media. So we want people to have to take some effort to demonstrate that they're actually interested in putting out some work, because this task force will probably go on for several months, and it has an extraordinarily important job. So we are honored to be at the position where we're growing fast enough that we need to move up to the next level of professional administration. And so, side note, I'm not going anywhere. The board has approved for me to stick around for the rest of my life. So, you know, that's not going to be a problem, but I just can't be, you know, balancing the budget and organizing all the people and all that happy stuff. So anyway, so the task force has a hugely important job. And so we encourage anybody who is remotely interested to send a very quick letter, just, you know, expressing your interest. Larry, you have your hand up.
Carl, I do have my hand up. Thank you. I just want to say something very briefly, and it speaks to everything that everyone has been talking about this morning. And I got to say, I just love hearing all this. I'm so happy that we're doing so much. I just want to reiterate our vision. Our vision is that we want to become the voice of the industry and define the standards for professionalism in IT services. And the reason I want to repeat that is because this is a vision that cannot be done without the support and participation of our membership. Can't be done. And doing this, I think, helps everybody that's a member. It doesn't help the organization. The organization is just a vehicle to try to create these professionalism standards, the definitions. So I just want to make the point that if you care about defining standards for professionalism in IT services, having a say in what those standards are and making those standards, right? Things that everybody in the IT industry says, oh, these are professional standards. What we're trying to do as an organization is provide an opportunity for you to be a part of that journey. And if that's a journey, if that's a goal that resonates with you, and if that's a journey you want to take with us, we absolutely want you there. And we will find ways to have you help us that works for you. In all of these committees and all of these requests to promote us and to go to these events and hand out flyers and stuff, I just want to be very clear about it. The whole reason for that is to give you guys the opportunity, you guys and gals, to help all of us define the standards for professionalism in IT services. And if that's important to you, that's why we want your help, and that's why we need to do this together. Thank you.
All righty. So anyway, if you have any questions, send them to admin or send them to Carl P. and we will help you out. I know that once we start spreading the word that we will have many, many ridiculously good, talented people. I have been very, very impressed with the people who have stepped up on the various task forces and committees in the last couple of years. So, all right.
I've impressed Carl.
Plus Dennis Wilson, who I've known for 20 years, lets me make fun of him publicly. So there you go. So the membership, I do want to spend some time on this and to the question of subcontractors. If you are a subcontractor, if you are somebody who used to work for whatever, Intel, HP, Microsoft, blah, blah, blah. And now you've got a job where what you want to do is be a specialist in a certain area and help out other IT service providers. It seems to me the relevant role for you to play is to join as a professional individual. That cost is $125 a year. And you are just a sole proprietor working for other IT professionals. If you were working for Intel, you could also join as an individual member at $125 a year, and you retain that membership. It's not tied to your company, so then you can move to HP or work for Dennis or work for somebody else and go back and work for Microsoft, whatever. That seems to be the appropriate place for that. If you are a one-person shop, but you might occasionally have subcontractors or have employees that you would want to be members as well, then the company membership makes sense. So you would get one full professional individual membership as a company, but then you would also get 4 associate memberships, and that's at the 150 range. So we are having, a lot of people are having great luck just, moving over to the company memberships. Kara has designed an excellent process that makes it very easy. Occasionally there's some questions about the proration, because the proration, basically we start a new membership. So there's sort of the difference between what you have paid for and what you need to pay for. But we're happy to work that out with people so that they understand where the numbers come from. But there's usually a much smaller amount due today, and then it renews at the 150 level. We do have some people joining at the higher tiers. So depending on whatever you think is appropriate, I would say, just a wild guess, but probably 80 or 90% of our membership is going to be in tier 1 or tier 2. But whatever the size of your company is, we think these numbers are very, very reasonable. And the board has looked at this a dozen times, and the membership or the finance committee has looked at it a couple dozen times, and the governance committee has looked at it a dozen times. So, it's a good model, and I think it makes a lot of room for everybody who's in the industry, right? So, any questions on that before we move on? All right. Well, I highly encourage everybody who's here. We also have a growth of, I think it was 50-ish people who joined as registered guests. And I believe that if you are in this industry, and if you're on the list, and if you are on our mailing list, we have about 2,000 people on our mailing list. They should all just spend the 125 or 150 and join. I think we are not asking you for very much, and we are doing a hell of a job. So that's my opinion. Everybody's already talked about events, but if you have events, NI is making a list of all the events that anybody tells her about, and then trying to contact the right people to see if we can get a table at their event. So I wouldn't say it's a full-time job, but she's spending lots of hours on that. So if you know of events that we should be at, send an email to admin@nsitsp.org. If we can't organize a table this year, we still want them on the list so we can ask them about organizing a table next year. Everybody on this call, unless you gave us a bad address, should have received a mailing from us with welcome letter and some guide to how to get around the website, and some stickers and some business cards. And so everybody has a little bit of what they need to attend events, as well as a little name tag enhancement for your name badge. We've ordered more of those. And so anybody who's attending an event and wants to help represent us, just send us a note, and we will get that out to you. Ben had his hand raised.
Thank you, Carl. I had a couple of comments I'd like to share. One, I really appreciate Larry's, I think it was Larry, reiterating the purpose of the organization and the members and the journey. And I want to applaud him and sort of that. Along those lines, so Calyptics will be at 6 ASCII events this year. These things are really expensive. Frankly, you don't get a lot of booth time. It's hard if you don't get the speaking slot. And I would love for us to have a, NSITSP brochure on our booth at every event, put every other vendor, hey, ask us why we're supporting the NITSP, right? So it's a force multiplier for us. We attract like-minded people that want to be on this journey. And it's a community-driven engagement, whether or not, so I would encourage you to think about how the handful of vendors that you do have, can create some momentum with you guys at these events. And then the other comment along the cyber side, and we've shared this in the legislative group, but you guys are force multipliers for cybersecurity, and that means for legislation and communication. So if you have 10 clients or 100 clients, you're helping provide cybersecurity and good technology. So, one of the data points I'm really interested in getting is you have 800, over 850 members providing services to over 15,000 small businesses in 25 states, right? And all of a sudden your reach, when you illustrate that reach, you become much more significant of that voice, as you are the stewards, the shepherds, the trusted advisors to thousands of small businesses with thousands of employees. And that's a real mission. And I think you should be proud of it, and you should communicate it, and you should grow it. So with that, I'm really thrilled to be involved.
Thank you, sir. And we are grateful to have you here. It's funny because I know both you and Larry have had the mission of this organization as part of your personal mission for more than 20 years, even though we have only existed for 2.5 years. So I appreciate that. All right, so now we're into the Q&A section, and Max, we'll have you hold your question for just a minute, but then we will get to it. One of the questions that always comes up at every one of these meetings is, what's going on with CompTIA and so forth. And, kind of like, hey, how come CompTIA isn't doing this, or what is CompTIA doing or not doing? And I just want to let you know, I think MJ and I've had, 6 meetings since the last time we had our quarterly meeting. So we talk all the time. And so I invited MJ to just come and answer the question. So what's up with CompTIA? And feel free to promote the Communities and Councils Forum coming up every March.
Thanks, Carl. I think, in terms of answering the question, I guess I'd want to know what questions you have, because there's a lot going on with CompTIA. Well,
one of the questions is why should I join NSITSP? Isn't CompTIA already doing all of this?
Well, I'd say there's certainly some overlap between what you're doing and what CompTIA is doing. But that overlap is additive and complementary. We certainly don't consider ourselves or you to be competitive in any way, shape, or manner. CompTIA is a big open tent. We're a vendor neutral nonprofit trade association, and everyone is welcome to participate. I know a few of the folks on the meeting today are members, and there may be others that I'm not aware of that are members, but from that perspective, we certainly like a lot of the things you're talking about, agree with a lot of the things you're talking about. As you know, we used to directly lobby at the state and federal level. We decided to get out of that work because, quite frankly, our members were at odds with one another as to what was the best course of action or the best position to take. It's one of the difficulties of being a large global trade association is that our members span the very smallest organization. It could be a single person, could be an MSP, could be a software developer, who knows, all the way up to the gorillas in the industry. And as you might expect, there's oftentimes a clash of opinion within that broad spectrum. So we decided to get out of the business. Quite frankly, it was an extremely expensive business to be in. So I applaud your finance committee for working the numbers and figuring out how to go at this effectively, because it can be all-consuming. And so when we did that, what we did at the same time, though, was we do keep some certain consultants on retainer to keep an eye on different things that are going on in the legislative arena, more at the federal level than the state level for sure, but we have visibility there as well. And so if and when we detect things that are of impact to our members, we assess it, we communicate it, we share it with the right people, but we've taken a different approach than the direct approach that you're taking. I don't know if that accurately answers the question, but certainly I welcome any further questions.
Well, thank you for being here. And, just the last meeting, which we had in November, we had a big question, which is, hey, are we a nonprofit? Are we a not-for-profit? What are we? And we are a 501c6 specifically because we believe that we need to be able to talk to legislators. And there's a point at which that conversation, however you might define it, the law defines it as lobbying when you do certain things. So we need to be a C6. And so dues are deductible on your taxes as dues and subs, which is an operating expense and probably better than a charitable contribution. But it means that we're not a charity, right? We don't do charity work. So anyway,
so we just on that point, Carl, CompTIA is the same. CompTIA is a C6, but our foundation, CompTIA Spark, is a C3 because it is a charitable foundation, and we do make charitable donations into the industry. So we sort of live in both worlds. But the trade association, much like what you described, is a C6 for very similar reasons.
Right. So anyway, now's your time. MJ is here. So if you have questions, let him know. And, we have a very open relationship, and we talk all the time. And I've been a member of ASCII for a while. So, I've been a member of CompTIA for many, many years, ASCII also. But there's no fight between us. I think that we're all both facing in the same direction and looking at the same things. We just specialize in different stuff. So
yeah, I think that's a very fair comment. Dennis, I'm not sure if your comment was a question for me or if that was just a general comment to the folks on the meeting. So if it is a question, please let me know. But you mentioned our Communities and Councils Forum. Obviously, anyone who is a CompTIA member, you can attend any and all of our events, as well as all of your employees, for free. CompTIA membership is structured a bit differently than your membership here in NSITSP, in that ours is company membership. So a company joins, and however many employees that company has, all of those employees have access to the benefits as well. We don't count every employee as an individual member. We only count the company as a member. So a company could have 10 employees, all 10 people have access, they're one member. A company could have 10,000 employees, all 10,000 have access to the member benefits, but that's still only one member. So that's just an interesting little distinction. But our Communities and Councils Forum is an annual event we hold in Chicago every March. It's our more intimate event, has more of a North American focus to it. And it attracts typically 200 to 300 people, give or take. So our more engaged members who are active in the different communities and committees and councils that we have. And we come together for more of an interactive, collaborative couple days of working meetings to sort of set initiatives for the year and what deliverables, what resources we're going to produce, content we're going to produce, new education trainings we might develop, etc. So obviously, if you're a member, anyone's welcome. If you're not a member, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to get you access to the event. The more people, the merrier. I'll be at MSP Rescue next week as well. So I've got a couple panels there, and we've got one of our workforce people there. So certainly, if any of you are attending that, please introduce yourself. If I don't know you, be happy to meet you and chat. I think, in terms of overall what's going on with CompTIA, our focus is very much on our member communities. We've just launched a new DACH community, which is the countries of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. That's our 5th global community, where we'll be launching a 6th later this year. So we're continuing to expand our global footprint to share the knowledge and best practices in the industry globally. My loose analogy for that is there's no reason why a best practice that an MSP might come across in Melbourne, Australia, isn't available to an MSP in Birmingham, England, and Birmingham, Alabama in real time. So we've got the ability to facilitate that global sharing and learning of best practices and understanding the nuances of different markets. If you have customers across markets and things like that, we have a tremendous amount going on around cybersecurity. We have a dedicated cybersecurity programs team that runs our cybersecurity information sharing and analysis program. We're launching a new organizational credential called the CompTIA Cybersecurity Trust Mark. It's an evolution of the former Security Trust Mark Plus, but it's a whole new ball game on that. CompTIA has deep expertise in certification and training, and a lot of our certifications and trainings have been accepted by accreditation organizations, standards boards, and meet different criteria for different requirements. And we have every intention of positioning this trust mark to be something that will hopefully be a wedge against coming legislation, because it's absolutely coming, as well as to provide some guarantees and hopefully preferential ratings around cyber insurance.
Very good. So Eric has his hand raised. Eric, do you have a question for MJ or on something else?
Yeah, I do. Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, indeed.
Good. So I guess I actually have two questions, but I'll go to MJ first. I operate in kind of a unique space. I am a self-employed IT field engineer. I serve basically MSPs and other IT service organizations. I really don't do any client direct work. So I've been doing this for nearly 10 years. I've been doing it without the need for having an A+ certification. In all that time, I've really haven't been asked by anybody that in order to work for me, you have to have an A+ certification. I know you guys still have that program, and I know you believe in it strongly. Make the case to me why somebody like me should have the A+ certification.
Well, you may not need it. It may not be an appropriate certification for you in your space. And A+ isn't the only one. We've got Network Plus, Security Plus, and then we've got more advanced certifications beyond that. Where we do our certification business does the majority of its work outside of the traditional MSP channel, if you will. So enterprise, public organizations, government agencies, those are the types of organizations that may require an A+, a Network Plus, a Security Plus, or an advanced one in their work. You should never pursue a certification if it doesn't provide you with the ability to expand your professional capabilities or generate more revenue by being able to capture more customers. If A+ doesn't do that for you, I wouldn't make a case that you should pursue it. I would certainly make a case that you should keep your skills sharp and that you should look for opportunities to enhance your own career development and differentiation in your market. But if an individual certification, whether it's ours or anyone else's, doesn't provide that value, I wouldn't invest the money in it.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. I'm glad to hear that. One other side question I had, and this points more back to the Carl, the organization in general. You're talking about membership before, and I apologize, I was driving, so I couldn't get in when you were looking for questions in that area, but that's probably in general something that I would throw out that maybe you guys would want to look at in the future, would be this space of us, I guess, independent service providers. Again, I'm somebody who works mainly for platforms, things like, Field Nation and Work Market, but I also work for other IT service organizations and MSPs directly to provide, like, smart hands type support, that kind of thing, and maybe some marketing directly to those sort of individuals as to why it would be a good idea to belong to an organization like NSITSP.
Well, so as I mentioned then, I think the professional individual membership is perfect for you. It allows you to participate fully, to vote, to sit on committees, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, you need this industry to be as professional as possible so that you are respected at the get-go when you start having a conversation with somebody. So many people, especially people in really big businesses, they hate IT people, right? The entire Dilbert cartoon is based on the premise that IT sucks and the people who provide it suck, and the way that their companies support it sucks, right? And so there's this uphill climb to be respected even in your own workplace. And I just think that we need to make that a thing of the past. People make fun of lawyers, but people respect them. People know they need them, and they don't, they may grumble about the cost, but they don't grumble about whether or not they need to have a lawyer in the room. And every company on earth needs IT. And yet they kind of grumble about having us in the room. And so I think there's a huge need for our industry to focus on actually improving our own reputation, not just among legislators and lobbyists and the media, but among our own clientele. And so that's a lot of what we're doing. And, as Larry pointed out earlier, our goal is to actually help improve the reputation of our industry. And, that's one of our stated goals. So I think your money is well spent as a professional member, even if you don't belong to a specific company for the next 5 years. So anyway, we can build and will build marketing programs around that. It just takes money. Keith has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the CompTIA certifications. As I write curriculum for the California community colleges and universities, having those CompTIA certifications that are a non-vendor verification of our testing criteria has been paramount. Because as we dealt with the, even legislators on that, you start saying, well, I got a Cisco certification, they go, I don't care. But when you say I have an independent organization that certifies us and sets some standards, that has had real value and allowed us to create a cybersecurity program jointly with CompTIA. We're piloting at Riverside Community Colleges to get people in our industry and quality people. So I think that's one of the huge values of those certifications.
Great point, Keith.
And I would just point out in general, I mean, Amy and I've talked about this roughly 1,000 times in the last year. There's a massive need in our industry to refocus back on certification. People sometimes poo-poo and say, oh, I know somebody who got their MCSE in a weekend. And okay, whatever. But the reality is, I don't know anybody who's taken 5 or 6 or 7 exams on something and not actually learned a lot of really useful information. It's just like any other education you get. It doesn't all stick, but you know how to know things, and you know how to learn things and how to look things up and how to find things. And so I think all certification is good. And that's why one of our eventual plans is to, encourage people to go get additional training, whether it leads to a cert or not, and to eventually have a program of having continuing education credits and having organizations like CompTIA be on the list of, hey, you can get your continuing hours here and here and here and here. And certainly, absolutely no question, CompTIA would be on that list. Max asked the question, have you considered the idea of local chapters? I'm tired. That's a huge amount of work. And to be honest, we used to have kind of the framework for all of that. I think half the people on this call who are over the age of 50 used to belong to an IT user group or a small biz or a small server, Windows small business server user group. And a lot of those have gone away. And, you know, we can bring them back, but man, that's a lot of effort. So Max, if you want to volunteer, it's easier than it used to be, because like our user group still exists, although we haven't met in a while, and we use Meetup as that. So, you know, the opportunity is there, but it just takes somebody to be dedicated to putting out a lot of work. MJ, you wanted to say something else to Eric?
Oh, I just put it in the chat. Sorry.
Ah, okay.
I just made the typical mistake of hitting enter too soon.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. It just, you know, CompTIA is a big organization, so the cert business is over here, and the membership is actually a different logon, different website. So, you know, I need a membership or a logon for both.
Yeah. We're like a business within a business, if you will.
Yeah, and Dennis Wilson put in a note that TechFest, Dave Seibert has been a big supporter of ours, and to be honest, so is Harry Brailsford, who's got an event that we're going to be at in Chicago. And we're going to be at TechFest, and both of them have given us shout outs in their marketing in their newsletters and from the stage, and so we appreciate that.
Carl, can
other comments, questions? Yeah, Larry.
So I want to go back to this business about chapters. Chapters are an interesting potential element to what we're doing. And what I want to say is absolutely the same thing that Carl said. I just want to put my own little spin to it, if I may. It's important to remember what our long-term goal is, our purpose, and how intimately connected it is to developing standards for professionalism and being seen as the source for that. So to the question about local chapters, and I want to reiterate, absolutely, we've thought about that. There needs to be somebody who has passion, who says, I think this local chapters are a vehicle that we can use to enhance our efforts and achieve our ultimate goal more efficiently, more effectively, sooner, with greater impact. You know where I'm going with all these words. It's about, more is better, right? It's how do we do this better? And if that vehicle of local chapters will give us that opportunity, and if it's a broadly enough shared idea that other members of NSITSP have a passion for local chapters that are designed and engineered to support that vision and mission, then it will be easy for us to create a place for those people to come and execute, which is the only way that the capacity to create them, support them, and maintain them can be delivered. It can't be done any other way. So I say this for anybody who feels like local chapters would be important. It takes the members to bring that to us and to say, we think this is important. This is why. Would you guys consider reaching out to your membership and seeing if there's enough other people who agree with this that might be willing to participate? And I speak for myself as a board member. I am not speaking for the entire board, but I will advocate for this to the entire board. If any member can come to me as a board member and say, this is what I think we should do about local chapters, and these are the people I've found that want to participate, I'll take your case to the board and advocate for you. But until we have that, it's more than we can handle. The board, the staff, our volunteer leaders, we just can't. We don't have the time, right? We can't make 25 hours in a day. So I don't want that to go away, because I think it's a very potentially powerful idea, but it has no fuel without the passion from members to fuel it.
Well, and to be honest, you know, I always say that the legislative committee is like, you know, how does an ant eat an elephant one bite at a time? The legislative committee has so many things that eventually we hope to do. And we've talked about having local organizations that help, because it's the local people who have to lobby their legislatures. I can't lobby in Connecticut. I can't lobby in 49 states. I can lobby in California, right? And so on the day that we have events and we actually have legislation that pops up that says, hey, let's regulate the hell out of this industry, we need to be ready. And so it just takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of organization. And at some point that will eventually be at the local level, you know, but as Larry said, but we need volunteers to do that. So we certainly don't have the money to hire thousands and thousands of people to do that organization.
Volunteers with passion.
That's a key point right there, is they got to have the passion for it. I've been a member of ACM since around 2006. And then also I've been a member of the PMI, Project Management Institute, and several other things. And I have experience with local chapters with regard to those. I've been an active participant, never ran them, but I have worked in other local chapters that aren't necessarily related to IT. Where I was like a lead in that group and was elected to the position for that chapter. So I do understand that, and I understand. I've been in IT for 30 years, and a lot of consultants I ran into or had to go clean up messes from them. That speaks to being professional is really good, because it doesn't hurt us the next time a consultant comes in or a managed service comes in and does the work and really means it. So I got a passion for, hey, you have to be professional. I don't hold any certifications, but I study every one of them I can. So,
you know, it's interesting. In my State of the Nation address in January, one of the things I pointed out is I believe, and I have believed for a long time, that we're entering an era where there's going to be a lot more subcontracting and a lot more specialization. You know, we've always had sort of like, here's the group that installs the business machine, the fax machine, the printer, all in one, and then here's the IT consultant who fixes the network after those guys leave, right? And we've always been the people who fix the network after those people leave. But the reality is that there are people who specialize in security, signage, business machines, all kinds of stuff that today it all touches the TCP/IP network. And at the end of the day, we need to do lots and lots of subcontracting. And in my opinion, this organization has a place for every one of those people to be a member. And to be honest, I also think that we all need to get back to having a lot more certifications. 30 years ago, lots and lots of people in this industry were certified by Microsoft, and that sort of faded away. And, you know, in the last 10 years, it's just not been an important thing for a lot of people. They go off and get those industry or vendor specific certifications that Keith talked about. But, you know, more general certification, I think, really needs to help, because there's a lot of people that right now, they're the target of the Federal Trade Commission and some others, because they are selling one thing called managed services, but they're delivering a different thing called break fix at a flat fee. And this part of it is they don't understand the business model. So part of that training needs to be on what is a managed service provider. Amy, you have your hand raised.
Well, I'm just gonna me too a little bit on your comment. I've been advising in my peer groups to everyone to begin to make a plan for education, because I do think that we have reached full circle. When I started in this industry, you could not get a job without a certification. you had to have that Novell CNA or that Microsoft MCSE or whatever. No one was going to talk to you about getting a job if you didn't have that. And I do believe that we are fast approaching the time where that's going to happen again. And so I would encourage everyone to make a plan in their business for obtaining certifications and begin to promote that as part of your qualifications. And actually, and Carl and I have had discussions because your profile is public on the NSITSP website. So we can use that as a place where your potential hires and your potential customers can go and, you know, find out what is makes your business more interesting to them, perhaps more qualified, more legitimate than the next company that comes in the door who doesn't have that information lined up.
Yeah. And, you know, on my long list of things to blog about in my spare time is how you can get the most out of your NSITSP profile, because, you know, as we add little badges for this and that and things, it's going to be something where you can actually point your prospects and clients to it and say, see this professional organization I belong to, I volunteer with, I participate in. That's the kind of thing that helps improve my entire industry. And you should think about hiring only people who belong to such organizations. So,
and that is one of my grand goals for this organization, that from the consumer point of view, right, the consumer of our services, that just as we are today able to tell the difference between hiring our neighbor to help us out with the books for our business, hiring a trained bookkeeper, hiring an EA, hiring a CPA, and we know what those things mean, and we know that they all earn different amounts of money because they have different levels of qualifications, that we end up with that for our industry, and that it is in general in the world understood that I can hire my neighbor to help me out with my computer, and I can pay them $25 for that, or I can hire, you know, an independent professional that has a certain skill level, or a firm that has a broader skill level, or, you know, in specialties, and that those things are generally understood. And that is one of the values that a society like this will ultimately provide to our industry. So for me, that's really what the big picture is here.
Yeah, when Ben and I were talking about legislation, one of the things that we talked about quite extensively was how to make sure that legislators do not accidentally sweep in a bunch of people that they don't even intend to regulate, right? Because if you think about it, most legislatures have, even if they're a part-time legislature, they have a full-time IT staff. They have some agency that has more funding than any small business you've ever seen in your life. And, you know, they have a good sized staff. They have all layers of management and all that kind of stuff. And their vision of what IT is very different. And they get lots of lobbying from organizations that are really big and have really big IT companies. And they don't see that you have to draw a line and not cover the 17-year-old who's helping grandma get connected to the internet. But at some point, that 17-year-old becomes an 18-year-old, becomes a 19-year-old, says, hey, you know what, I could do this for a living, and becomes a business that now they need to learn something about, you know, how one operates as a small business. And, you know, way back when, I wrote this white paper about part of what we need to do in this industry. And I think a big piece of it is we need to have legitimate pathways for people to enter this industry. How do you start out as a non-certified amateur and become a professional? And that's a path or a series of paths that we can actually create. And it's long overdue. You know, our industry, the integrated circuit just hit 50 years old, right? You know, like our industry is young, so we have time to craft what it looks like as it grows. Keith, local chapters.
Oh, I just was, the comment was, what we do at Tech Tribe, which is kind of easy, is like when we were at IT Nation, it was just on the Tech Tribe website. Hey, all members, let's have lunch at this time. And that may be a way for us to start develop it without an expense. So
we could totally do that.
SMB Tech Fest, you know, let's all get together at a table and just have a discussion if we're all NSITSP members. And you know, just make sure we search each other out. That was my only point.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So do you want to be in charge of that?
You put me in charge? Yeah.
Or is it just a good idea?
Yeah, no, I will do. I mean, it's something we could start posting just someplace.
I could help you on that too. In particular, I think we need some sort of way to link up. We could use Meetup to start with, but we need something more centralized with our organization to set up these meetups for members.
Well, we do have forums on our site, and we do have pages on our social media. So I think it's...
Yeah, I think we could quite easily promote locally organized meetups.
Yeah, and Tech Tribe, it's just a forum. It started with, I'm going to IT Nation, who else wants to hook up? And then ConnectWise said, hey, there's like 5 or whatever we had, 10 of you, we'll set aside a room, we'll buy you lunch. And we just got to meet other members.
Well, and I don't know if Andy's still here or not, but I'll throw him under the bus. It can never hurt to contact the marketing committee and say, hey, I'm going to be at this event. I'm going to be at Tech Fest, for example. Can you help me promote this to other people who are going to be at Tech Fest? You know, and also Niall put in the address again, admin@nsitsp.org. She's keeping a list of people who want to help us attend events, and she's keeping a list of people who you know, want to help us promote. So this is a easy thing for her to, you know, just sort of keep people on that Excel spreadsheet. So if you want to volunteer for that, just send us a note.
I will be happy to sit at a table with other NSITSP members in Chicago on the 17th.
So I would say we should get shirts, except we don't have the money to print them all up, but maybe we could set up a print on demand store and people can print their own shirts, and we'll just upload the logo and you can get shirts and hats and all the other very strange things that people throw into those stores.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Like I bring this. Of course,
there you go.
And people ask me, what's that about? And, you know.
Very cool. All right. Other comments, questions, suggestions? I appreciate that we still have almost 30 people here, so I'm grateful to everybody for that. All right, very good. So May 10th is our next all-member meeting. If we miss something or you think, hey, you guys are totally not talking about the right thing, send us a note. I am, and I'll put it in the chat, but it's Carl P. at NSITSP.org. Or obviously, if Amy wants to put hers in there, Amy at thirdtier.net. And we'll be happy to, you know, add you to the conversation. If you're not a member, please, 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 just spend a tiny bit of money. If you can't afford $100, you might be in the wrong industry, and that's all I'm saying. So, very good. All right. If there are no other comments or questions, I'll go ahead and put this to sleep, and we will get the recording up as quick as we can. You'll be able to find that at our website under meetings and then the recorded meetings. Right. All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, everybody.